Call to order the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council, March 26, 2018. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Jameson?
Here.
Toussaint?
Here.
Wright?
Here.
Zimmerman?
Present.
Mayor Richardson?
And would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. To start the evening, we're going to have a couple of proclamations read. The first one being the proclamation in recognition of Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2018. Whereas child abuse and neglect are a community condition and problem, and finding solutions depends on involvement among people in the community. And whereas early detection, intervention, and treatment are critical to ending this devastating cycle of child abuse, wherein millions of American children suffer each year. And whereas the effects of child abuse and neglect are felt by the whole community and need to be addressed by the community as a whole. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, youth organizations, religious organizations, civic organizations, law enforcement organizations, the business community, and residents. And whereas North County Rape Crisis and Child Protection Center and its CAPC partners have been committed to educating our community on child abuse and neglect, and are sponsoring several events throughout the month to heighten public awareness of abuse in the northern county of Santa Barbara, which includes Solvang. And whereas these events will provide information and materials that support families to prevent child maltreatment and celebrate people who work with and support children and families. And whereas all citizens should become more aware of the importance of prevention in the community and become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now, therefore, on behalf of Mayor Jim Richardson and on behalf of the City Council and residents of Solvang, do hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in Solvang, and call upon all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and medical facilities to increase their participation in our efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening the community in which we live.
Is there a child prevention person here? Oh, I'm sorry, but get to them.
Friday morning.
Okay, that's in conjunction with another.
Yes, so that'll be presented Friday morning at 8:30 when we're doing the pinwheel placement in front of the Solvang Vets Hall.
That'll be this Friday. Did you read the next proclamation?
Yes. Proclamation in recognition of National Donate Life California Month, April 2018. Whereas organ, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and whereas more than 114,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and 20 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. And whereas more than 600,000 units of blood per year are needed to meet the need in California, 6,000 patients are in need of volunteer marrow donors, and the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic and African American communities. And whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives. Donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others, and a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. And whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood, and whereas the spirit of giving and decision to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition, And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles, and over 14 million Californians have signed up with the registry to ensure that their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored. Now, therefore, on behalf of Mayor Jim Richardson and on behalf of the Solvang City Council, on this 26th day of March 2018, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as DMV Donate Life California Month in the city of Solvang, and in doing so, encourage all Californians to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at www.donatelifecalifornia.org or www.donevidacalifornia.org.
As proclamation mentioned, there's 20,000 people in California that are on a waiting list for a donation. There's about 190 people in Santa Barbara County. Christine and I are trying to bring a face to those numbers. About 3 years ago, I got a donated kidney, and I'm alive because of a lady who died and put a pink dot on her driver's license. So I'm just letting people know that there are people here that are very grateful for people that put on a pink dot on their driver's license. Christine?
Hi, my name is Christine Ramirez, and I received a liver almost 6 years ago. So I am here because someone did decide to become a donor, and because of them, I'm alive. So I honor his life every day, and I talk to anybody and everybody that I know about becoming a donor. Because of them, we're standing here, and many people in our community suffer because they don't have those organs. So we really appreciate the city of Solvang doing this proclamation for Donate Life, and thank you so much for listening to us. And
So if we
Donate
could,
Life.
could we get
Life.
a little photo op of us two and Mayor and Mayor.
Oh, forget him.
We should get three.
Yes, definitely with the proclamation.
And we have the photographer here. Who's great.
But Frank, do it this way. This way. So you get the council behind us.
Okay, we got 3, 2, 1, couple more. Here we go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Mayor?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doing a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
I want to say that the Mayor for Day program has been a successful program. We've had several people I just wanted to say that the Mayor for a Day program has been very successful. We've several $1,000s have been funded by various organizations in town as fundraisers. And Ray is the latest and the greatest. And today he came in for a meeting with the city manager and the city clerk. He received a city pin, which is an honor. And he also received some business cards honoring him as the Mayor for a Day. And also, he received a certificate of completion or diploma from the wastewater treatment plant, which I'm sure will be highlighted on his mantle in the rest of his life. And then I'd also like to present him with a certificate of being Mayor for a Day.
That's terrific.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
And thank you so much for your work you've done. And don't run for mayor. Oh, that was, I mentioned that this morning to him, and he said the last thing his wife told him before he came here is, don't consider running for office. So but it was a good day with him to have him here. So, and should he run for office, he'd make a great representative of the people. On to the next item. City Manager's report.
Just one thing I want to report, and that's to remind everyone that the Easter Extravaganza is this Saturday at 10 o'clock at Riverview Park in conjunction with Solvang and Buellton. And be there at 10, because at 10:01 they're all gone.
It's over.
So don't be late.
Okay. Public communications, written or verbal. At this time, please direct comments to the City Council regarding consent calendar items or matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. I have 2 speaker slips. Tracy Fahad, followed by Shirley Stacy.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Tracy Farhad, Executive Director of the Solvang Conference and Visitors Bureau, your tourism update. I want to first thank everyone who participated in the Taste of Solvang. Given the fact that it could have been worse with the weather, not knowing which way it was going to go, and we certainly saw some lower numbers because of that anticipation, it still went off very beautifully. And I want to thank all of our sponsors, specifically the city, who puts that on, as well as Visit the SYV, and our staff and our wonderful event producers, Cultivate Events. They did an outstanding job. But specifically the businesses, because they're the ones who bring forth and show off the best that Solvang has to offer. And I'll get into that because I'm going to let you know what the survey said when we asked our participants. I also was able to personally talk with people who came here from Gilroy, Long Beach, and Arizona. And the folks in Gilroy, when I said, oh, you have that big, beautiful festival up there, the Garlic Festival, I said, we don't have anything that big. And they said, oh, no, that's okay. That's why we're here. We actually prefer that you don't have anything that big. We could get to the front of the line and actually taste your food. So it was really wonderful. And I wanted to also say that we did a little incentive for businesses. We gave out the silliest little prizes, a pen, a cowbell, a little pocket thingamajiggy. But if you spent $25 and you came back to the ticket booth and you showed us your receipt, you had the chance to win and chance to win a bigger prize. We had 35 people come back to that tent to show us that they had purchased more than $25 from participating businesses. In fact, one had purchased over 200, and we said, well, you don't get like 8 tries, because then like the odds are way too well. He won twice. He was very happy. But that is just nice to show that people are purchasing as well as staying, etc. So I wanted to give you a little survey stats. And then I'll let you know about just 2 last-minute things. We put out a survey to both participants and attendees each year. We had over 92 respondees this year, which was great. And over 78% said it was either very good or an excellent overall rating for the entire event. We also asked where they came from, what they did while they were here, and did they have good use of the website, etc. But I thought this was interesting for how they heard about the event. Again, over 50% were returning attendees, or they brought friends or family members that they heard from and brought them back. But what was great to hear was that our website and our Facebook pages, over 32% of those said that they had heard from those outlets. The biggest this year, and this is higher than usual, was first-time attendees. 70% of the attendees were first-timers. Again, great for being able to get that new audience, especially since we have also a very high returnee at this event. And how likely were they going to recommend the event to a friend? And it was over 72% said very likely or extremely likely. Well, that was a very quick 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. But I like this part. Over 49% stayed in a hotel in Solvang. There were some other locations that they stayed as well. And they are, over 88% are planning on returning next year to the event. Last but not least, I just wanted to point out a few things. They like certain places. They give us a lot of feedback. They tell us what's good, what's bad, what they'd like to have improved. But what did they like about the event? They love the music, the wine, the atmosphere, going to new restaurants they had not gone to before. Another person said it has become a family tradition. Another one said, love this particular event. Again, encouraged me to try restaurants I never had visited before, plus they love the band. This one response, we got to see a lot of Solvang. And this is what people tell me over and over, is they go into nooks and crannies and places of Solvang that they generally don't get to, because we encourage them to get all the way around through town. This one I wanted you to hear. They referred now to Solvang as a doggy nirvana. because there was not one single place that turned us away with our small dog. And they opened us with open arms and a smile. And this one also said, everyone we encountered was super friendly, genuine, and warm. The town was clean and gorgeously presented. And at the bottom said, this was a welcome oasis of serenity and happiness, and we hope to return for a visit sooner than later. So those are the kind of responses we like to hear from people.
That's terrific.
And now it's red, yes?
That's terrific.
Look for Little Women on June 20th, our next Lifetime show. 3 million viewers, we're looking forward to that. And the cruisers are back, so we're happy to see the buses coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. That, by the way, that accolade goes to the city about the comments that you made. It's great stuff. Thank you very much. Shirley Stacy?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Shirley Stacy, the city's rep to the Library Advisory Committee, and I'm just reporting on the March meeting. It'll be brief. There was a meeting of the County Library Advisory Committee on Wednesday last week. The main thing on the agenda was the study of the administration of libraries in Santa Barbara County. The report was comprehensive, but it had some mistakes in the many figures used to establish funding and other things. This morning I received the revised version with different figures. One of the main conclusions of the study was that the funding of libraries should not be based solely on population, as it is now. There were various different models that used circulation and median incomes as well as population. The committee voted on a model that used all three criteria and seemed to be fair to all libraries. Unfortunately, the figures were incorrect, so the vote will have to be taken again at the next meeting in April. The date of the meeting hasn't been announced, but there is a Board of Supervisors meeting on April 3rd when the report will be discussed. Interested parties should plan on attending one or both of these meetings. And that's all I have to report.
That's too bad. The numbers were, they can't get the numbers straight ever, can they?
I guess not. It's
too
yeah, it is too bad. But they'll get. I'm hopeful that they'll get it right this second or third time.
Thank you, Shirley, for doing that for us. Thank you. I have no other speaker slips. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment at this time? Come forward and identify yourself, please.
My name is C.J. Jackson. I am employed by the Alisal Ranch. I got challenged in a conversation with Councilwoman Jameson about your meeting regarding annexation a few weeks back, and I could not attend, but I could watch it on television. And I just wanted to share some observations and some comments as you go forward. To be candid, I found it to be a somewhat unsatisfying experience. I believe that the opportunity for you to truly vet the costs, the benefits, the weaknesses, the threats, and the opportunities associated with any one of the potential opportunities to either annex or not annex appear to have been persuaded not to discuss, as it somehow felt, as someone watching, that you thought that to pursue the study would somehow obligate you to such an annexation. As a result, I found Councilwoman Waite's valid concerns about the actual costs associated, both revenues and expenses. The discussion was unfortunately lean. It is important for you to develop, I believe, a process whereby you can take information from consultants, fully vet them in such a fashion that gives you workable data with which to make a decision. And before you allow an audience to become emotionally vested in aspects of it, give yourselves the full opportunity to grasp the elements of what you're examining. As someone who watched it, I felt that you did not take full opportunity to take effective use of both staff and the consultants to answer valid questions. I believe personally that from an aesthetic point of view, for example, developing the flats would be perhaps a bad thing. But I have no conception of what the benefits or the costs or the threats, or one other question, whether those properties are better protected in the unincorporated region of the county as opposed to under your jurisdiction. I felt that I would encourage you to find a way to more effectively address and satisfy individually your own understanding so that if you walk out of the meeting afterwards, you can explain what happened. I watched it. I encourage you. I encourage the mayor to continue to build consensus amongst you, but perhaps maybe not work so hard to build consensus with the audience, because I think you need to establish with yourselves where you're going. Just an observation. Carry on.
Those are very valid comments, CJ, and I really appreciate your comments. We needed more of those kind of comments at that meeting. It was overwhelmingly opposed to the situation. We're having a visioning workshop soon, and I attended a presentation put on by the Santa Barbara County Foundation regarding a project they call Blueprint, which is a data gathering process that has layers of maps derived from those data sets, and you can merge various layers and analyze certain functions or areas within the county as to, for example, flooding or earthquakes or population explosion, all kinds of things, about 100 different layers. The process is free. It's not government sponsored. It's sponsored by the, it's called LEAF Division of the Santa Barbara County Foundation. So I'm going to ask that during that visioning process, we bring one of the participants there to explain that to us, how it works. I think that if we'd have had that process 6 months ago, I think that the meeting that we had the other night would have gone differently. So that's what I'm asking, is for Rick Hayden to bring that individual, which is Chet Work. He made the presentation of how it works and all that sort of thing. So
We can see if he's going to be available for that.
yeah, see if he's available. Okay. Is there any other more public comments? Okay, thank you very much. Seeing that, we'll bring it back to the council for council comments. Would you like to start, Neil?
No comment tonight.
Karen?
I'm happy to report that there's been some progress with the Sunnyfield Park Spur bike path, and the county has offered to donate some funds towards that. So that could be in some of Brad's report later, but I'm not sure. But I did get the email on that, so I was thrilled.
Ryan?
No comments.
Joan?
Well, I don't know if many of you have driven down 2nd Street. Is this 2nd out here? 2nd Street. And seen this great, big, beautiful, shiny, new fire engine with this ladder that just goes zooming out there and moves around. I felt like a little kid at Christmas time watching a toy. I mean, this thing is magnificent. And I don't know, is it still here? The engine?
I did not check today, so I'm not sure if it's still
Okay,
here. It was
well-
going to go back down to South County to get some more.
Right, it's not here permanently yet, but when it does come back, I'm going to try to encourage maybe the city and the tribe to get together and have a party for it, and maybe christen it gently. But it is a pretty magnificent machine. Let's see. I did attend along with Ryan, Jim, and that other beautiful lady down there. You weren't there. The Man and the Woman of the Year celebration on Saturday, and it was a very nice affair. It was some very worthy people were honored, and it was just good to see a huge crowd. They haven't always been that big. It was wonderful, I thought. The food was good. The camaraderie was nice, and I would encourage anybody who has not attended one of those to go sometime. It really is very special. And I guess that, I'm going to piggyback on Shirley's comments about going to the Board of Supervisors meeting when they discuss another consultant's report about the libraries in Santa Barbara County. It's a very hot issue. You may not think that, but those of us who have been following this for years and years and years now know that something has to be done. Something has to be changed. The funding isn't adequate. The way the funds are spent is atrocious. We never know where our monies are going. We never get any feedback. So we're trying to make a change, and that's what this committee is trying to do. So hopefully I would encourage you to go online and maybe read this report, come down to the Board of Supervisors meeting a week from tomorrow, and give your input into it, because it means a lot to our little library here. So that's all.
You took two of my talking points.
Sorry. Well, you can say the same.
I wanted to comment on this, on the San Ynez Valley Foundation and the San Ynez Valley News on the Man and Women of the Year and the Lifetime Achievement Awards, plus other awards that went to some high school children, not children, students, that for some of the very work they're doing for charity and those sorts of things. It was gratifying to see these high school kids, their ability to present themselves before a crowd of people. I was at the table with a couple of them, and they were slightly nervous before they went up, but when they went up, they did a magnificent job, and we should be proud of the youth in our community. It's just a fantastic thing. And the second thing I want to talk about is the mayor and myself had a personal tour of the fire ladder truck. What a beautiful machine that is. There's just no question about it. We got some details on it, on its operation and its benefits, and it's more than you're aware of a ladder truck can be. It can be a crane, it can be a rescue device, it can be a firefighting device. It's just a wonderful machine, and we have to thank the Chumash tribe for the donation they made to us, or to the valley, for that fire engine, and the fact that we support it by enlarging the firehouse to house it shows our sincere appreciation of this fire truck, and it's going to be a lifesaver, no question about it, in the city. And those are my comments. And we go on to correspondence. We received the correspondence from the Wilding Museum expressing their thanks for the grant request that we honored last year. On the consent agenda, does anybody wish to pull any of the consent items? Neil?
Yeah, I want to pull E.
E. Okay. Anyone else? He said E, easy.
I would just like to make a comment on C,
On
the
which?
Sheriff's Department report.
Okay. And I'd like a little more information on D, on the award for the crosswalks, just to bring up the publicity part of it, because it's an important thing that's going to happen in our city. So, Neil, would you like to start with
Sure.
with E? Would you read that, please?
Item 4E, resolution of support for Proposition 68, Parks, Water Bond, and Proposition 69, Transportation Funding, Constitutional Protection, and letter of opposition for SB 827, accepting housing projects from local standards.
Neil?
So I have a question for City Attorney on the resolution. What's the core purpose of a city resolution?
Well, the core purpose of a resolution is to document an action by the council. In other words, what the council is resolved to do. Is there something more specific about the resolution form itself that's of a concern?
Just that it's something that's going to be on the ballot. And I understand that it's showing support, but to go to the extent of a resolution seemed extreme, I guess. I don't know. And it's supporting something that's that I don't think we should support. Basically, I mean, it's a lottery.
Which resolution are you speaking of? There are two of them.
68. Proposition 68. That part of the resolution
Okay.
specifically. it's $4 billion of money that'll basically be taxes on the California residents for a competitive grant process. And then they slapped water and environmental on a couple of things and put a couple $1 billion behind that. And I think getting the city and how to support something like this, I think we should not support this kind of activity. It's for the voters to decide, and we shouldn't impose our over-encompassing perspective and sway votes. Just a thought. I just have an issue with it, is all.
Do you want to have a vote on each one of these resolutions?
Sure.
You do? Okay. Then let's talk about the other resolution too. Proposition 69. Do you have any comments on that?
No, just that one.
So
Okay.
69 supporting further fuel tax, right?
Well, yes, it's supporting the fuel tax and the opposed to the cancellation of SB1 in effect, and the fact that the road repair will generate $5 billion annually. And as a matter of fact, today I received notice from SBCAG that the state of California has granted $226 million to Santa Barbara County for the construction of the widening of the 101 highway between Santa Barbara and Carpinteria, which is almost half of the amount that is needed to complete that repair. And so that's a good thing. SB1 is, in my mind, is needed because of the conditions of the roadways within this state, and everybody that travels those roadways are responsible for its deterioration, and therefore they should be responsible for the reconstruction of it, and via paying the increased gasoline tax and other registration fees. So I support this resolution 69 for that reason. But if you want to vote on the separation of the two, then can we do that, Dave?
Yeah, they're two separate resolutions, so you can take them separately.
Okay, then.
Can we do item C first, and then we can just...
Okay.
And this is just a comment. I really appreciate the sheriff's report. That being said, I kind of feel like we're in an island, and there's all this area around us, and there are things that happen around us in this valley that I think we should be aware of. And if there could just be a gentle summary of maybe some of the occurrences, if there's a rise in car thefts or burglaries or whatever, just so that we are aware of what's happening around us and not just in our little island of Solvang. Is that possible? Okay. Just general, maybe just a sheet of stats or something like that, just so we know. Because I hear things and I'm thinking, well, that didn't happen in Solvang, but it has happened in the valley and it has affected people that live here. And it may sometime happen here. So, thank you.
I want to comment on that report also. It looks like nothing happened. We had no murders, no rapes, no robberies, no domestic assaults, no auto thefts. It was a great week.
That's a good thing.
A great month, I mean, so it's good job.
Well, yeah, if you compare it to last February, we're
Right.
talking about February, we had log entries of 341 last year and only 289 this year. That's great.
That is great. That's good stuff. So we're getting the police very well. Thank you. Thank you for that, Eddie. Before we vote on E, let's go back to D. I'd like you to, Matt, if you could kind of go over what we're voting on, the contract for the crosswalks and the sidewalk stuff, so that people are aware that what we are doing in the city.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor Richardson, council members, Matt Vanderlinden, your Public Works Director and City Engineer. So item D on the agenda is award of a construction contract, and this is for our Mission Drive crosswalk and intersection improvements. And it also includes the first segment of new sidewalk on Alisal Road. So you may remember about a year and a half ago or so, the City Council adopted a new sidewalk master plan. And the number one priority was to construct sidewalk on Alisal Road. There's two blocks on the west side of Alisal Road. That's from Maple up to Laurel, and from Laurel up to Eucalyptus. And the city owned all the right-of-way for one of those blocks, so that's the block we're proceeding with right now. The other block of Alisal Road from Maple up to Laurel, we're in the process of acquiring the necessary right-of-way to slightly widen the street and add the curb and gutter and sidewalk. And so we're in the process of doing that now. As soon as we have that in hand, we'll proceed with the construction of that sidewalk. So that'll probably be next fiscal year. And then on Mission Drive, we did a circulation study about 4 years ago, and then did some preliminary design. And in both of those processes, the City Council provided direction to staff, and the #1 priority project was to implement safer pedestrian crosswalks, and to try to implement some improvements at some of the signalized intersections. So the project includes upgrading the crosswalk at Mission Drive and First Street. It includes a brand new mid-block crosswalk at Solvang Park near the restroom there. It'll cross over towards the liquor store and the subway location there. As I'm sure you've probably seen people cross there all the time, either to get to the parking lot or the restroom or over to the park. So we're going to be implementing a brand new mid-block crosswalk there. Then the other two locations are Mission Drive and 4th Place going north, and Mission Drive and 4th Place going south. We have crosswalk upgrades at those two intersections. And then at the intersection of Mission Drive and 5th Street and Mission Drive and Atterdag Road, we are striping the side streets to allow for 2 lanes now. Right now, if you want to go through the intersection or make a left or right turn, you're all just, piled up there together. So now we're going to have a designated right and through turn lane and a designated left turn lane at going both north and south at both of those intersections. So hopefully that will do some alleviation of the congestion for the residents on the side street.
Thank you for that. I'd also like to emphasize the flashing pedestrian crosswalk.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's...
So the new mid-block crosswalk will have a pedestrian activated flashing signs. And that'll be solar powered, and it's a wireless system, so we don't have to saw cut the pavement there or anything. But so there are solar powered batteries that operate the system, and a pedestrian can come up to the sign, press the button, and it'll activate the lights to start flashing, and it's on a timed system, so it'll continue flashing to alert drivers for several seconds until the pedestrians can make it across the street.
Is there any opportunity for that to be synchronized with the traffic lights that are going up and down? Is there a possibility in the future then?
Yes. I mean, at this point, you'd have to, the way that's done right now, it's all hardwired together. And so we didn't actually ask Caltrans about that, but anyway, there's a possibility that could be done. It'd be a significant additional cost, because you'd have to run conduit and wiring over to the new pedestrian activated crosswalk.
Well, thank you for that, Matt, for that presentation. Thank you. So do we, on item 6E, or was it 4E? We want to take that item and separate out those 2 resolutions. And just for the sake of continuity, we'll call that resolution for Proposition 68. Okay, and can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to not support Prop 68.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Zimmerman,
Yes.
Jameson,
No.
Toussaint,
No.
Wait,
Okay, so we had one of the council members that went ahead and seconded the motion and then voted no, when we had one that voted yes. So if I can get some clarity on the yes and the no here, because I would vote in support of it.
It's permissible under parliamentary rules to go ahead and second a matter, even if the person intends to vote against the matter that's been moved. It's
So
a
the
matter
question-
just to bring it to a vote at that point. It could have died for lack of a second, but this is an opportunity for the council as a whole to vote on the motion itself.
Okay, thank you.
How are you voting?
I'm voting against.
Voting no?
I'm voting no.
Just so we're clear on what the vote is, the motion was to disapprove the Proposition 68 resolution. If I understand Councilmember Wade's vote, she is voting against that motion. I just want to be clear that that is in fact, it would be a 4-to-1 vote.
Right, I'm for it.
Okay.
Yes, you're clear on that.
You're voting in support of the motion.
Yes.
Okay, that's a yes.
The motion was to
No,
vote
no,
against
no,
it.
no, she's not
The
voting in
motion
favor.
is to
She's
not
voting-
approve the resolution of support.
And I am
Oh, it's
voting.
not, it's a not.
Yes,
Okay,
it's a
okay,
not.
it's
So
a not.
I am
So then-
voting a no, because
No,
I
okay.
want to support it.
All right. Okay, so we all understand that. Okay.
It's 4-to-1 then.
And then, no, she didn't call me yet.
Mayor Richardson.
And the I
Vote no.
I'm confused.
Just vote no.
I vote no, okay. Okay. Just vote no. Whatever that means. So the motion failed for lack of a majority. So, okay.
Okay, and we haven't finished that whole vote though, right? We still have,
We have to vote on Proposition 69.
what, is that the letter?
That's the opposing the recall of.
Just to interject, you have not voted to approve the resolution. You voted to not approve the.
Okay, so under those conditions, then let's have a motion approving the entire
I just
consent calendar.
I just have a question about the one where we're talking about transportation, the letter that was written. No, that's about the housing.
Yeah, that's about,
That's about housing.
yeah.
Right. No, I'm concerned about the one for transportation where they say they're going to be using funds for,
That's 69.
That's 69, that's opposing the recall of SB 1.
did we just vote on that?
No.
No, okay. I'm concerned that those funds are going to go to the bullet train.
Well, no, that's what this thing is, there's gonna be a.
It doesn't say that they aren't going to it.
There's going to be a ballot issue on requiring those funds from SB 1 to be used for transportation only. Now, that is a good point. Would
But
be
where's-
applied to the bullet train.
Yeah.
Okay? That's your comments.
Well, that's my comment. I just have that.
If you look in the title of the resolution, it says, from diverting transportation funds for other purposes or redirecting funds for non-transportation projects. So the other purposes would be, the rail would fall under that.
Right.
Yeah, it says for mass transportation purposes
Yes.
on page, what is it,
So
51?
it's against the repeal of SB 1, this resolution. So, can I have a motion regarding the consent agenda? Or would you rather break out parts of it?
Well, we
No,
just
we're
voted
supposed
on
to, we were
some
gonna,
of
yeah,
them.
we were gonna break out 69 and SB 827.
Oh, we want to
I
break?
think we already started breaking it up,
Yeah.
so we should
Okay,
probably
okay, so
stay
we want to
consistent.
do the letter of opposition to SB 827. Discussion.
At this point, you've not adopted any of the items in.
That's correct.
In that,
Yes.
in 4E.
Is there discussion on the letter? Since there's no discussion on the letter, can I have a motion accepting the consent calendar?
Okay.
No, I thought we still have to vote on 69 and
And
It'll be
827.
voted on when we accept the consent calendar.
You can vote on the consent calendar with a noted dissent on one of the items on the consent calendar. So if the council approves
There was no dissent.
on the one
Was on
proposition,
68.
Oh.
on one of the
The
resolutions.
resolution is, wasn't, it wasn't, it was
It was-
voted, the repeal of that or the voting
It
down
was
of that
never passed.
resolution didn't pass. So therefore, by voting on the entire consent agenda, we'll be including that in as a pass.
But Councilmember Zimmerman, if he wishes to register a dissent on that particular item, may do so as part of the consent calendar. So he may say, I vote in favor
so
of
then-
everything on consent, but I dissent as to the one item.
Okay?
So we already did that, though. We already voted on that one item. So we do vote on everything except that one.
Well, we can have a separate vote then for item E. Okay, so then let me have a motion regarding the consent agenda with all the items except item E.
So I'll make the motion to accept items A, B, C, D, and F.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that one.
That one's been moved and seconded. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Toussaint,
Yes.
Waite,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
To confirm, this doesn't include E, right?
No.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
So yes.
okay.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes, so now can I have a motion regarding the acceptance of 4E?
No, because we already took, didn't we already do?
No, we didn't do 4E.
We didn't do 4E at all?
No. Separate motion.
Wait a minute. We just,
The motion that Councilmember Zimmerman
right,
raised
okay,
was to
right.
not adopt it.
right, not adopted.
Okay, now can I have a motion for item 4E? Well, I'll make the motion that we accept item 4E. Is there a second?
I'll accept 4E. I will second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Item 4E.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Waite,
Yes.
Councilmember Jameson,
Yes.
Toussaint,
No.
Zimmerman,
No.
And that passed with a 3-2 vote. Thank you. On to item 5.
Item 5, Solvang Skip Mesa Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District, number 2004-1, resolution confirming and levying assessments.
Staff report?
The city council, is this on? The city council adopted the tentative vesting map for the Skip Mesa project on May 27, 2003, and per the conditions of the subdivision, required the project to establish a landscape and lighting maintenance district. The conditions also required that the CC&Rs include a notification to buyer of the landscape maintenance district requirements, restrictions, and costs. This was to ensure all property owners are informed of the LLMD costs. The city has retained Francisco and Associates to prepare the annual engineer's report. The engineer's report outlines the estimated LLMD landscape and lighting maintenance district operations and maintenance budget. It establishes the boundaries for the district. It determines the method for spreading the annual maintenance costs to each parcel, and determines the maximum annual assessment that can be levied. At the February 26, 2018 City Council regular meeting, a resolution was adopted that initiated the preliminary engineer's report, approved the preliminary engineer's report, and set the date of March 26, 2018 for this public hearing on the proposed assessment levy. At the conclusion of the public hearing, if approved by the City Council, any changes will be made and the final assessor's roll will be prepared and filed with the Santa Barbara County Auditor's Office to be included in the fiscal year 2018-19 tax roll. The assessment currently is $1,200 per year, and there's been no increase in this assessment over the last 4 years. All 4 phases of the project have now been completed, of the Skip Mesa project, and all applicable LLMD improvements have been added to the assessment district and included in this year's final engineer's report. Effective February 1, 2018, so just approximately 2 months ago, Phase 4 was added, and all landscaping and street lighting improvements, the development's entryway improvements, and the detention basin improvements have been turned over to the LLMD for maintenance. The maintenance is performed by a private landscape contractor utilizing the revenues generated from the maintenance district. And each of the 169 single-family parcels benefit equally from the landscape and street lighting improvements and a portion of the entryway and detention basin improvements. Therefore, it is proposed that the $192,660 in assessment revenue needed to operate, maintain, and service the landscape and lighting improvements be spread equally among the 169 parcels, or $1,140 per parcel. This is a 5% decrease in the recommended assessment for fiscal year 2018-19. Based on several past cost-saving measures, the LLMD reserve has now been built up slightly higher than recommended. These factors are allowing the recommended fiscal year 2018-19 assessment to decrease by the 5% mentioned. With the recommended assessment of $1,140 per parcel, the LLMD reserves are projected to remain at or above the recommended level for the next 2 years. As an alternative, the City of Solvang could hire additional staff and purchase the necessary vehicles and equipment utilizing the LLMD funding and assume responsibility for the common area and open space landscape maintenance and lighting costs for the Skip Mesa development. However, this alternative would likely increase the LLMD costs significantly. Regarding the fiscal impact, there is no fiscal impact to the city. The Solvang Mesa LLMD will fund its own annual operation and maintenance. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 18 next in order, and confirming and levying assessments for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the city manager to sign the necessary documents on behalf of the city to place the assessments on the property tax roll. And that concludes my staff report. I'm available for any questions you have.
Are there any questions of the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
On page 5 of the staff report, 83 of the packet, number 4
Page 5 of the engineer's report?
of your report,
Is that the Part B?
Part B, yes.
Part B, estimate of cost?
No, yeah, estimate of cost. Page 5,
In this part of it?
83, look for 83.
Oh, that's in the
Yeah, in the
engineering report.
engineer's
Right.
report. Okay.
Number 4,
Yes.
are we doing that?
Yes, we are. However, maybe it's a little misleading. There is no actual landscape improvements, but we are doing periodic pruning of the vegetation down along the. There's a little front, kind of like a frontage road or a side road there that people use for as a walking path sometimes. Yeah. So basically, the maintenance that's provided there is kind of like a weed abatement, weed whacking, and.
So the word landscaping really doesn't exist, is what we're saying here. It's just what's naturally there.
Correct. That's correct.
If I can interject, when this was created, that was actually some Caltrans right away. It went up the Skip Mesa entrance quite a ways.
Right.
And as part of the concession to allow us to put the sidewalk in there, Caltrans succeeded that over to the city. So I think the initial context was the landscaping coming down the entry road.
Okay.
So that was it. Part of that was in Caltrans right away, and now it's in the city right away.
Okay, but are you telling me then that the 246 that runs along there, that's not a part of Caltrans right away?
No, I'm talking about as it went up the hill. There used to be a
Oh.
wide swath of Caltrans right away right there, and they deeded that back to the city. because it was becoming a city street, in essence.
So it's always going to look not so presentable there, is what we're saying.
Oh, are you talking about the slopes along 246?
Well, I'm talking about actually along 246, the roadway there.
Yeah, there was no plans to do any work there. We did some work on the upper slope in
Okay.
phase 1, but that's all
What
that
about
was
the
done.
other slopes? Did the property owners give permission for the city to manage those or not? It talks about,
Yeah, so there are some areas that fall within the boundaries of a parcel or a lot
right,
that are generally behind the home. So you can imagine there's the home, all the backyard landscaping, and then
Then
the
it drops
back
off.
fence.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's a little buffer area, and then it'll drop down either towards Highway 246 to the south, or along the east side it drops down towards Hans Christian Andersen Park. And so there's various lots around there. And the LLMD only maintains a buffer, like a fire prevention buffer, and they do weed whacking at the beginning of the summer along that perimeter. And so,
what about along Chalk Hill Road, where there's a fence, and then there's a landscape area, and then there's another fence? What is going on there? People have asked me that, and I don't know the answer.
well, yeah, my understanding that's a permanent, was intended to be a permanent sort of natural open space.
Private open space. That
area.
was dedicated as private open space as part of the subdivision.
Okay,
So
so we
the-
have all these little postage stamp places along there that are all fenced in.
Yeah, along Chalk Hill Road, I think there's 3 parcels and maybe
3 or 4,
yeah,
yeah.
3 or 4 that have that area through there. And the LLMD does have limited maintenance responsibilities in that area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions of the staff report? Seeing none, thank you, Matt. We'll go to the audience for audience comment. Is there any comment from the audience regarding this issue? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action and discussion. Does anybody have any comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion regarding this item? A motion regarding the staff recommendation? Can somebody just say that?
Yes, I'll move that we
Thank you. Is there a
adopt the
second?
staff's
I'll second.
recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jameson?
Yes,
Mayor Richardson?
Yes.
Member Toussaint?
Yes.
Waite?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
No.
Pass with a 4-1. On to item 6.
Item 6, Ad hoc Committee with the San Ynez River Water Conservation District, Improvement District Number 1.
Staff report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the City Council formed an ad hoc subcommittee with the San Ynez River Water Conservation District Improvement District Number 1, also known as ID Number 1, to discuss Solvang becoming a member of the CCWA back in 2015. The current members of that committee are Councilmember Toussaint and Councilmember Zimmerman. ID1 at that time created a similar ad hoc committee, and as I'm told by their general manager, the current board members are board members Clay and Juice. Previous city council direction has moved off of the CCWA membership and on to pursuing a merger or joint powers agreement. And at the May 9th, 2016 meeting, there was a consensus of the council for the committee to continue a dialogue with ID1 and try and develop a program or strategic plan for that. Most recently, at our last meeting, the city council made a request to consider changes to the city's representatives on the ad hoc subcommittee, which is the purpose of this report. Just to note, during the water supply update, there was a recommendation that this subcommittee pursue a long-term water exchange agreement with ID1. So staff is looking for direction on if the council would like to change the members of the ad hoc committee.
Are there any questions of staff report?
Yes, I'd like to know exactly how many times you have met with ID1 since the ad hoc was formed.
It was formed with Hans Deuce and I, and it's been carried on to now, and it's, I don't know, more than maybe a dozen meetings or less. I don't know, something like this.
I think 3 since I've been
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's all, the momentum is all based on council direction and whatnot.
It was my suggestion that we reorganize the ad hoc committee because of Karen's expertise with ID1 and the fact that she's on the groundwater management thing. And I was recommending that if Neil wants to go along with it, he doesn't have to go along with it, but if he wants to go along with it, to allow Karen to be on that ad hoc committee, that's what my recommendation might be. And so, any other questions of staff report? With that, we'll go to the public for comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Any discussion, action? Neil, can I have your comments, please?
It's not up to me. I think I'm in full support of it. It shouldn't matter who is there. There's a good relationship right now, and I don't see why it would be spoiled. But ultimately, I think if Karen's up to it and she feels, she could do it, and I think that she should do it. So I guess ultimately it's kind of her decision. We shouldn't just vote her into something that she may not want to do.
Okay, so I had a couple of things that had come up. One would have been a possible conflict of interest, having had been on the board for ID1, but apparently that's not an issue. It wasn't. It was determined, I believe, by their council in their last meeting that it was not a conflict of interest. But I really believe that to best serve the city of Solvang and their relationship with ID1, that the committee should stay with Neil and Ryan, just for continuity purposes, and perhaps after the next election, new board members, new council members, maybe then it's reorganized at that point in time.
Thank you for that. Is there any other comments?
Well, I think my only comment was, first of all, I'm in full support either way, be it working with Karen on it or Neil. But I think also part of the drive behind this is maybe considering a different name for this ad hoc if we're going to expand the scope of it. So if we're not going to make any changes now, then we don't need to talk about that. But otherwise, if you're looking at, because the one that Karen and I just went on, and then if we were to go on this other one, then maybe we should just make one ad hoc that just has a larger scope.
That was kind of my thought, but and Karen's comments are valid.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, I can agree with what Karen says and to just terminate this discussion. And Neil will continue on and until the next election. Is that an okay deal?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. We're on to the next item.
Item number 7, ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 1 of the Solvang Municipal Code, Animal Control.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, once again, Santa Barbara County provides animal control services for the city of Solvang and has done so since we've incorporated. The problem is that the city ordinance related to animal control is not the same as the county's ordinance, which can result in confusion in the enforcement process for Santa Barbara County animal control. In 2011, the city council did modify our code when, at that point, it was in regards to licensing of altered and unaltered animals. We've not made any changes since then, but the county has made some changes. Most recently, in November, the county revised its ordinance relating to vicious dogs. The ordinance was updated to allow for a first offense that is egregious, such as seriously injuring or killing a domestic animal, to support a hearing officer finding a vicious on a first incident. There were a few other changes made to the ordinance, more effective in protecting public safety and to conform to state law. The county also added a section in regards to licenses and tags, which requires veterinarians to provide rabies certificates to county animal control services when a dog is vaccinated against rabies. So in dealing with this, staff thought would be better, rather than us following the county and making sure we're making all the changes they make, to just incorporate by reference the county's animal enforcement code. And so that's what you've got before you here is an ordinance to do that. We have kept a couple of sections of the city's current code in place, and that's regarding fowl and rabbits and hares. And we're going to continue to allow special permits for educational animal husbandry projects. And it would also retain the ban on roosters and peacocks that are currently in the city code. And we feel we've actually used the rooster one quite frequently, so we want to maintain that in our code. So what you have before you is an effort to make it so that when an animal control officer is enforcing vicious dogs, things like that, it doesn't change once he crosses the city limit and into the county and vice versa. So we're looking for direction on that. The city attorney is available. He did prepare the ordinance up on that, and we have the county's ordinance as an attachment to ours. So what it would end up being is just our code would state that it is done by reference to the Santa Barbara County. So any changes they make would automatically be incorporated into what we have. And that concludes my report.
Any questions of staff report?
Nope, no questions.
I was going through this, is there any other questions? No? I was going through this ordinance, and I haven't found what the disposition would be on a vicious animal that was found guilty of being vicious. Is they automatically put to death, or are they can they be harbored someplace for life? Because there are humane organizations in this country that take vicious dogs and keep them in for the balance of their life without destruction. And so I'd like to determine that that if it's automatic, it's an automatic death penalty to an animal that's considered vicious, or one that can be humanely jailed, so to speak, some other location for life.
I think we're both trying to track down that the answer to that question.
It's section 759B. If it is determined a dog to be found vicious, shall not be destroyed. Administrating hearing officers shall impose conditions. So I think that probably answers the question. These conditions are limited to release to an approval animal rescue sanctuary for the remainder of the animal's life with no possibility of adoption. That's what I wanted to read. So with that, I can agree. Yeah. Yeah. Page 123.
124, there's also exceptions.
Yeah, I think the emphasis is to get the dog away from the owner.
Right.
Initially,
yeah.
That's
without necessarily destroying the animal. Yeah. Okay. There's no other comments. Can we take any? I have no speaker slips. Does anybody in the audience wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Is there discussion and action?
I move staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the recommendations. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jameson?
Yes.
Toussaint?
Yes.
Waite?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes, and that passes with a 5-0.
And you will, this is a little unique. The second reading of this will come back as a public hearing. The city attorney may expand on that a little bit.
Okay, you got it. So
Yeah.
that'll be next month?
Yeah, there's a requirement, and this is the first I'd ever seen it. There's a requirement when incorporating another standardized code from another entity, the second reading of the ordinance must be done at a public hearing. Typically, you'll see in a zoning ordinance that you'll have the first reading done at a public hearing, but in this particular case, it's the second ordinance reading, so that'll be coming back as a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. On to item 8.
Item 8, special event, Austin Healy Car Show.
Staff report.
Good evening, council members. I'm Mayor Holly Owen, Planning and Community Development Director. The subject tonight of this staff report is the Austin Healy Association of Southern California has approached us with a proposed new special event for October of this year. This is a new application for us. There are no other car show events scheduled in October. There will be no live music or alcohol this event. It's really strictly for car enthusiasts of this particular type and interested people who may be passing by. I personally think they're kind of cool. Little James Bondy here in Solvang. They requested initially that we look at a street closure for this event, but staff is not willing to do that for just any special event, and we redirected them to lot number 2, where they agreed to hold that event. They do have their required insurance for this, and as you see in the special event application, you have some details about the hours of setting up and when they start and finish. There'll be also no food. So it's strictly for a gathering. They're going to make a big weekend of it, come to the area, do some touring, and then end up at the parking lot to do a little show and tell for themselves and for the public. So with that, I'm looking for a recommendation. Staff's looking for a recommendation for your consideration, and this concludes my staff report.
Questions of staff report? Is this going to be a one-time event, or is it going to be an annual event?
I think they probably will see what kind of turnout they have, and how much fun they have. So.
Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, we'll take it to the. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
We'll take it to the public for comment. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Discussion, action.
I move staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Pass 5-0. Thank you. I think that was the last agenda item.
Committee reports.
Committee reports is next, yeah. Now, are there any committee reports? I should have committee reports, SBCAG and APCD reports, but I'm unprepared this evening.
I think
I had such a busy day that I wish I could remember to summarize what we discussed, but nonetheless, I'll bring that back on the next council meeting, so I have that. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm currently trying to set up an appointment to meet with the Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
Good.
So I believe Brad and Matt had a meeting, and I will be meeting individually to go over that meeting.
Fantastic. Good news.
And
Any other comment?
I think we already got our library report, so we won't be redundant here.
Just encourage people to go to the meeting or write letters or read the report and give your input as to what they think.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes. Well, if that's it, any other comments? Then we stand adjourned. Thank you all.